Hey guys, welcome back to Agent Academy. You are now plugged into the network. We have Butch Haze here, I'm Sydney Miller, and we have our PR professional, Kat Wiley.
Extraordinaire, actually. No, Kat Wiley has been unbelievable in San Francisco for press, and so we had to interview her and share her knowledge with all you guys because it's so important. You know, PR, advertising, organic. What we're really talking about on today's episode is how do I get organic press, earned media. How do I leverage that at all possible? It's a game changer when it comes to selling real estate. If you can get organic. Kat, what are some of the mistakes agents sometimes make? We'll start off with a negative and go positive, I guess. Right? What are some of the mistakes that sometimes agents make that don't get them press, and how can we change that and accelerate their ability to get press?
Sure. So initially, the important distinction to make is the earned versus paid, and sometimes you start with earned, and if that doesn't get picked up, if that's not getting the traction that you need, then you can turn to paid to sort of supplement that outreach. And on the flip side is you can pay for ads and place them where you want them to be, but sometimes you can supplement that with earned, and so you have sort of a holistic approach to getting the word out. And it's important to be really realistic about the property that you have. If it has history, or if it's a record breaker, or if it's just really so beautiful that it's worth writing a story about, then pursuing earned media is a great idea. But you need to be really realistic, because sometimes I see agents run into a roadblock where they want earned media and the house is just not extra special, and that's hard for a reporter who hasn't seen it to be able to write something that's cohesive and brings the audience in.
Right.
So one thing that I've seen too is sometimes you develop relationships with media people, and so that's always like really important. Agents can take somebody out to lunch that writes a lot of articles. You might like look at a paper that's in your neighborhood or your town and say, hey, I see you write a lot of articles about real estate. Could we do an article? One guy on our team did a phenomenal job, actually got on CNBC because he offered Uber credits because there's no garage. And so he said, you get a free year's subscription to Uber, and they calculated it out at about $4,000. This was for a luxury property in San Francisco, and it got picked up by the news. So sometimes you can have little tricks to have an engaging story. I think coastal properties are always beloved by media. You can suggest ideas. I know I wrote for a newspaper here, the Marina Times, for a couple years.
I didn't know that.
And
Me neither.
Yes. And I remember the deadlines. Every writer out there has a deadline and hates that deadline and is dying for a story. And if it's not about a house, it could be something unique, some tool that you use in real estate that makes a difference, or what's going on in open houses that might be different or that you're doing.
Totally.
Maybe you've done a chef. You've hired a professional chef like I did that for an open house one time. I called the company, and they do professional chefs, and I said, do you want to advertise in the open house? And she goes, oh my God, that's so great. And so she did it at cost for me, and we had a professional chef serving up some light bites at the open house, and he was handing out cards saying, you can hire me. That's just an example for like the high-end homes. If you had a more kind of mid-tier or modest home, it could be easily as like, I used to bake cookies, but now I do this, or I make little fun packages.
I think the point basically is just think outside the box. I mean, not every house is oceanfront. Not every house is 20 million. Not every house is this insanely architecturally beautiful home. How can you get earned media? You have to think outside the box. What could be special about it? When was it built? Did something happen that year? What's going on in the neighborhood right now? What's current? So I think you do a great job with that. And in San Francisco, I mean, it's easy because we have a lot of historical homes, but a lot of the homes in the city all look the same.
Right.
So
it's
being
hard able to differentiate. And it's also a lot about relationship building. And so I work with you guys really closely. I work with the reporters really closely. And a lot of times it's just a matter of matching up one specific reporter with the specific angle that we're going for. And it doesn't need to be wide outreach every single time, but if you can match one reporter with one house and get that really great story, then that's a win for everybody.
Totally.
It really is. I think too is if you don't have a house to talk about, you might talk to a designer and she gets interviewed, but you're at the interview and you suggest this to the writer. Again, it's about being creative, reaching out. If in your town you see somebody that really focuses on real estate, then think of different ideas if you don't have a listing to talk about, different ideas that you could interview, like, or here's a contractor, let's interview one of the top contractors. What are the hot trends right now that people want to build in their house? Oh, they want the double shower head, or everyone wants marble, or people are getting away from marble. Why is that?
And then we get into the thought leadership aspect. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a listing. It can be about you personally. Maybe you are the singular expert on Stinson Beach. When I get an inbound request for comment, I know to go to you for that specific thing. Or maybe you have lived in North Beach for your entire life, you know the ins and outs better than anybody else. When I get a request, I know to go to you for something.
And North Beach is a neighborhood of San Francisco. That's it's the Italian district, so it's really lively. It's very European. So those are things like, if let's say I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm in a suburb outside of Austin. I don't have any high rises. What would be an idea that I could get, and I have a normal house. What could I do to get press? I think that's what you're saying, right? It's come up with different ideas as a thought leader to get press, maybe not for that particular house because it's in a subdivision, but you could get press, maybe something exciting is happening at the school.
Sure, yeah. So I would position you as the expert of that particular area, and if you happen to have a listing to plug, we sprinkle that in as well. It doesn't need to be the hook of this story doesn't need to be the house itself. It can be you as a community leader, or you as an industry thought leader, or just somebody who really knows the ins and outs of this really well. And people want to hear and read about experts. And so if you have something special or some insight to give that you can't find anywhere else, then that itself could be the hook. Or you can look into your community and find some timely trigger, like a community event that's coming up, or a fundraiser, or something.
Great ideas,
something
a fundraiser, or
mm-hmm.
like something going on in that neighborhood.
So if they don't have a PR professional like you, because I don't know if every office in the country does. So
mm-hmm.
what do they do? How do they get earned media without someone like you?
Yeah, it can be tricky when you don't have somebody who does this day in and day out. But there are marketing folks around the country who do sort of a public relations marketing hybrid role.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would ask if that's something that we have in your area. And if not, then it can really just be about reading these stories and doing a little bit of digging on these reporters. And they're always interested to hear from any
I was
source.
going to say, can you reach out directly?
You can pitch yourself. If you feel
I've done it a ton.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, they pick up the call. They, like I said, having done it, like, you're dying for a story.
Yeah.
And another idea that you can do is if there's a local fish wrap, which is we call a newspaper or blog area, you could say, hey, could I write an article for you?
Yes.
And you become the author or contributor.
Yeah. Sure.
And all these areas, and you go, oh my God, I can't do one more thing. But you really can. You, again, dedicate. If this is your angle, and you go, and especially for newer agents, this is for agents that have been around for a while. This might not be your thing. But if you're an agent that's like, hey, I've moved to a new town, or I'm struggling to get my business off the ground, understand a neighborhood or an area and say, how can I be a blogger or somebody that
make yourself the voice of that specific community that is maybe your specialty.
Yeah.
And make you the person that people go to so that you're top of mind.
Or what about even like reaching out to bloggers just about that city? Like, okay, let's go continue with the Austin thing. I'm sure there are a handful of people that are influential blogger, Instagram people in Austin that maybe you can just reach out to and say like, hey, I'd love to collab, or let's do a video, or even let's get lunch, or I'd love to talk to you about this. I mean,
did you just say collab?
Collab?
Yes. Yeah. We're hip, we're cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be something to do, because in every city there's always someone talking about it, right? Even a small town, there's got to be some blogger that's talking about it that has readership of those people in that area. So even if it's not Wall Street Journal, you're still getting free
Sure.
earned media about your brand.
And you can start as small as sending an email that says, "Hey, I'm Butch Haze. I've been working in this area for 5 years. If you ever need any insight, here's my number. Give me a call. I would love to hear from you." Just to put yourself out there as a source. If they need it, if they want it, you're here.
Yeah.
And
or I can help you find who you need to talk to. Call me first.
Right.
And I can, I have a lot of clients in the neighborhood. If you're looking for anything in this neighborhood, I can find you the right source, whether it be restaurants or construction. That's a
it's
great
all. I mean,
pro
this
tip.
whole your business and mine is all very relationship based, and building these kinds of connections is true for all of us, and that's what makes us good at what we do. I wouldn't be good at my job if I didn't have continuous relationships with these reporters, and you wouldn't be if you didn't have clients who were referring you and folks in the community who knew that you were the person to go to.
Yeah.
So it all kind of filters in, and it all goes towards the same goal, and we're all trying to accomplish the same things. So
I know one thing that just happened to us recently with that mid-century house in Ocean Beach is, it got picked up. It got great PR, which was amazing. But another thing that interesting happened is I run the social accounts for a handful of agents, him being one of them, and we posted this photo, and I was tagging and hashtagging mid-century modern and tagging mid-century modern accounts and bloggers in the area, and someone reached out to us, and now they want to do an article on the house because they're a mid-century modern blogger. And so that's a way to bring our last video, which was social, into PR and connect the community that way.
It all snowballs together, and as soon as you get your efforts getting picked up by readers and other writers, then the word is really out there, and that's as much as you can really hope for.
So one of the things too is for agents that say, well, how would I find somebody on Instagram that has a lot of followers? So let's go to Austin. How do I find that person on Instagram?
Well, you could look up on the hashtags like Austin blogger, Austin, Texas, whatever. And the first ones, typically the first ones that come up, those ones have the most engagement. So it's safe to assume that they have the most followers.
So then you click in there and then see their following, and it might say 5,000 or 10,000, and then you try and reach out to them.
Another thing you could do too is on the search bar. You can search accounts. You can search by location. You can search by hashtags. So you can search by the hashtag, which we talked about. You can search by location, Austin, Texas, or you can just type in the search bar, Austin lifestyle blogger, Austin blogger, real estate blogger.
And typically the top pictures are going to be...
They have the most engagement. So
yes. You're going to pick that.
You can even hit Google and say Austin City lifestyle bloggers, and there will be roundups of popular accounts that are something like, so you're moving to Austin, here, so you should follow, and those would be a great place to go.
Yeah. I also follow on our accounts all of the publications that we get featured in or that we want to get featured in, and I'm always liking, I'm always commenting, I'm always just staying engaged because
it's being ever present, so that when your name does come up, it rings a bell.
Exactly.
Well, if you needed more on your plate, there you go. Thank you, Kat, so much. And I really appreciate you giving your email and phone number to everybody in the land to... no, I'm just kidding.
I'm happy to do it. Shameless plug. Here I go.
No, but these tips are just phenomenal. And again, it's starting off small, seeing what works, try a couple of different things. There's so many things to talk about other than just your house, and lots of opportunities that you may not think of right off the bat that you can leverage. Like, I love the neighborhood events, big events in the city, different things that you become active about. It could be something that's happening in the neighborhood, like politically, obviously, like, oh, the sewers are getting, or they're implementing a new development. You want to, again, talk about what's going on, especially if there's any kind of upheaval in what's going on. So that's always easy to be a part of it. And you're absolutely right. When you see people consistently on the news, it's because they're easy to get a hold of, and they become this kind of go-to person.
Sure.
So, good luck out there. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. If you guys have any marketing questions, just email us at TheNetworkGroup@compass.com.